have a right to think and do exactly what you want when it comes to nutrition. All I want to do is present the information in a way that then you can then decide what is best for you and your body and your health. You're taking stuff from outside in the world and you're putting it in your pie hole, you're putting it in your mouth and you're eating it. And that stuff is then getting built back into you and keeping you here. In the perfect world, if you want to simplify your life, eat where you land in the evolutionary process. I don't care how you choose to eat and feed yourself. You can do that any way you want, okay? But you need to know this stuff right here. This is super important so you can do it optimally. All right. This is a doozy. I kind of got over the whole everything needs to be 30 minutes or in that ballpark thing on this one because we're coming to the end of this. You know, what I realized, well, am I getting ahead of myself? I'm definitely getting ahead of myself. Whatever. I do what I want. I realized, you know, I was kind of hung up. I'm like, oh my God, I'm kind of running out of things to talk about. But then it dawned on me that, well, I'm not going to run out of things to talk about. Whatever. No. Well, yes, but no. I've got, it's just the end of this season, right? So I kind of got everything I wanted to say about how the body works out. I've got it kind of summarized, you know, different bits and pieces, and the whole thing kind of came together. Now, I got one more thing I want to cover on metabolism. And I don't think there's anything else that as far as like, here's how your body works, I've got. So that's great because now I can get on to the next season of just talking about what to do, you know, because I think that's actually people's greater interest. I don't think most people are actually interested in how it works. I know there's a bunch of you out there. There's just a lot less of you than there are that are interested in the nuts and bolts. But I got to be honest, the nuts and bolts are hard to stick to if you don't got your why. Who you want to be. And I think understanding brings that. But hey, listen, if you're not interested in metabolism, you know what? I can't blame you. All right. Let's get into this the first time, not the last time. The food chain from Earth to you. That's my title. The food chain from Earth to you. Recorded on Christmas Eve. It's actually Tuesday. Christmas Eve fell on a Tuesday. And I want to stay consistent. And, I was just sitting around anyways. Stuff happens later today for me. So getting this done. All right. Goal of this episode, provide a deep understanding of nutrition. You know, as far as where it comes from, you're going to have it all after this podcast. Help you understand how nutrition comes to be from the bottom up. It's going to be so fun. Why some nutrients have better bioavailability than others. You will understand why. You will understand. I'll say it again. Why do some nutrients have better bioavailability than others? Meaning, how come you can absorb them more readily? Some things you can't absorb at all. You're going to understand why that is. Without even having to talk about the specific nutrients, you're going to get it. This is going to be past 30 minutes because I have 17 slides in front of me. That's why. And that is a record. The previous record was either 11 or 12. So, you know what? Let's go big. So if you're up for it. Also, though, this podcast is structured in a way that if you don't want to listen to the whatever, 40, 45 minutes, wherever we land at, I'm going to cover pretty much the gist of what is important in the first, I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's like the first 4 or 5 slides and I'm already done. And it just gets, I don't want to say redundant, but into the details of where all this nutrition is coming from and how it comes to be, right? So, but you're going to get the gist before that. So if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, you don't have to. You just have to get through the first 15 or 20 minutes and you will have, like I said, the gist of it, the meat of it. Okay, outline of topics. So we've got updates. Before we get started, I got to preface something again before we get started. We're going to review metabolism. We're going to go over the nutritional evolutionary hierarchy, which is something I made up. Because food chain is what it's commonly referred to as, but food chain doesn't capture what the message is that I'm trying to convey here. I'll get into more details of that later on. Breaking down the chain. Then we're going to break down that whole chain. We're going to break down that process or the food chain. So, and that's where it's going to get long. We're going to get into the details in there. Animal or plant, what you need to know, okay? Pass no judgments here. You get to feed yourself how you want. I'm getting ahead of myself. And then we'll finish it up with final thoughts. So super quick again, updates before we get started. Review metabolism, nutritional evolutionary hierarchy, food chain, breaking down the chain, animal or plant, what you need to know, and then some final thoughts. Outline topics for today. All right, here we go. Updates. What do we got for updates? Lions handled the bears. Weather's the same. It sucks. I said last week I was going to cover a question from the audience, and I put it off again because this podcast was so long. And I'm excited about its length, to be honest. So we're going to do that next week. We are nearing the end. Like I was saying a second ago, I've pretty much got almost everything I want to say about how the body works out there. I think there's probably some small points I would like to make, but the gist of it is there. I'm happy with it. And like I said, we got one more on metabolism we're going to talk about. Anabolic versus catabolic. So building or breaking down, so you got to understand that a little bit. So it's going to give you some insight into fasting and what happens when you're not eating very much and those other things. But we're nearing the end of this season, and I'm super pumped about that. Subscriber update, email same, 61, YouTube 60 to 63. YouTube is growing. We also made a change there in the YouTube manager. So I had a general, we had a general social media manager. And like I said last week, we just really need to focus on YouTube. We need to focus on one channel and really make that grow. So went and found somebody that is solely going to focus on that, the YouTube, and that's what we're going to do. Spotify went to 21, or stayed at 21, and Apple moves from 19 to 20. My cat is outside the door. She's going to start me out. So Apple's catching up to Spotify. Reminder, please submit your questions to dennis@dennisfenrich.com. You like when you do that. I definitely expected more questions, but it is what it is. Okay. Before we get started, little preface. This is going to, like I like to do, we're going to keep this from a physics evolutionary perspective. That is where we're coming from. And we're going to avoid the moral, the ethical, and the political positions that people will take when it comes to nutrition. You have a right to think and do exactly what you want when it comes to nutrition. You have a right to feed yourself any way you want. All I want to do is present the information in a way that then you can then decide what is best for you and your body and your health moving forward. Sorry, the cat's blowing snot out there. Information to enable you to choose for yourself. I already said that. Also, when I go through this, I'm not going to be telling you what to do. Again, I'm just going to present information. Just keep in mind there's always unique situations. And most people are going to have some, especially as you age, you start to pick up little food sensitivities or allergies or just little things to where it's like, well, that doesn't work for me. I need to be carnivore because of my autoimmune situation. Great. Totally get it. So you have to take the information and apply it to what you already know about yourself, okay? That's what I'm trying to say there. Also, and lastly, Google AI is all over this thing. Like, I just kept going to the Google because I did not want to say anything that was incorrect. And it was providing answers. And so I was copying and pasting. And it's going to be a lot of the depth that we go into today because I had to learn a lot of things. Like this whole, I didn't really know how nutrients got from rocks into us. I'm like, I knew that that's what happened. And I knew those minerals were coming from rocks. I just didn't know that whole process. And we're going to break down that process when we get into the depth and the length of this thing. All right, let's get into this. Nope. I need more buttons. I definitely need more buttons. Let's get into this, guys. First off, let's review metabolism really quick because you got to get, because it doesn't really matter what's going on in nutrition if you don't understand why it's there and what's and how it Well, you got to understand both sides. And the other side is you, okay? So what's your metabolism do? Your body is built from the environment. First, we've established that before, right? Like you are fatty acids and amino acids and micronutrients and carbon molecules. You are all those things. And all those things are coming from the planet, okay? So what metabolism is breaking down the environment and rebuilding it into you. You're taking stuff from outside in the world and you're putting it in your pie hole, you're putting it in your mouth and you're eating it. And that stuff is then getting built back into you and keeping you here. Your metabolism is always replacing what it's losing by, expelling it or breaking it down or whatever. It's replacing those things that it needs to maintain itself. So that's a quick review on metabolism. Nutritional evolutionary hierarchy, okay? I call it this because food chain speaks more to, and I like technical terms, food chain speaks more to an insect is eaten by a bird is eaten by a cat, that kind of process, right? An insect eats a plant, a bird eats an insect, a cat eats a bird. That's kind of the food chain. And those are all over the place, right? Man, I'm going to be talking a lot and I'm already getting scratchy in my throat. Drink water. So what I'm talking about, though, is not necessarily the food chain. It's more about how these nutrients are getting from the bedrock, which you're going to learn what that is shortly, all the way up into you. We're going to talk about the nutritional evolutionary hierarchy. How did all this stuff evolve from a hot rock from 4 billion years ago into what we get to see and experience today? If you get this, you got it. Like I was saying before, the rest, after I cover this part right here, is going to be just breaking down the details. All right. And so if you want to check out, I'll tell you when you can check out. Or if you want to tune in, I'll tell you when you got to tune in. All right. So, Nathan, if you could have this pop up over here, that'd be fantastic. And if you can build it up, that'd be great. Because people need to see the structure here. So at the bottom of everything is the earth. Fungus are on the earth, and they're breaking it down. Plants are on top of fungus, and those plants are in a relationship with the fungus. Animals sit on top of the plants and eat the plants. And then animals are going to break down a little bit further into herbivore, omnivore, carnivore, right? So you have this thing that's stacking up over here, hopefully. If it's not, you got to picture it in your mind. You got the earth, you got the fungus, you got the plants, you got the herbivore, you got the omnivore, you got the carnivore, okay? Nutrients are coming all the way up the chain. I call it upcycling. Apparently it's not called that. I don't know. There's no real name for it. Nobody's got a name for this process, so that's why I named it. Call it the NEH. Let's state the obvious. You can't eat the earth. You just can't do it. You can go out there and start eating dirt, pounding dirt. You're going to die. It's not going to work. You can't eat trees. You can't eat shrubs. You can't eat bushes. The majority, I don't even know, it's got to be 99.9%, even more, of the vegetation on the planet is inedible. Okay, grass, can't eat grass. Can't just go out and start eating leaves off of trees. So you're in this hierarchy. You're falling in this hierarchy. And I know you know where you're at. You're in the omnivore part. And I actually have this wrong on my sheet. Just kind of comical. I guess I don't need to update that. Okay. Now, there was something I didn't know. I knew this to be a fact, that you can't live off of trees, and the majority of the vegetation in the world you can't eat, and you definitely can't go eat rocks. You can pound them, but you can't eat them. And I knew those two things were true. The next two things I wasn't so sure about, so I went to the Google AI. The Google AI. Can you survive on fungus? The Google AI will provide. Google AI says, no, humans cannot live solely on fungus alone. A diet consisting only of fungus would be insufficient to provide all the necessary nutrients for survival, as it lacks essential vitamins and minerals that the human body needs to function properly. So, guess what? You can't just go eat fungus. And what is fungus? Fungus is the mycelium, and then basically mushrooms. You'd probably be eating the mushroom. The mushroom is the fruiting body, as it's called. When you see a mushroom, that's attached to a much, much, much larger organism underneath. So you just can't just go eat mushrooms all the time. A couple other points on it. Why? Nutritional deficiencies. While some fungi are edible and contain protein and some vitamins, they generally lack enough carbohydrates, certain essential amino acids, and vital micronutrients like vitamin C, making a fungus-only diet highly unbalanced. Calorie intake. Most edible fungi are relatively low in calories, making it difficult to consume enough energy to sustain daily activities if relying solely on them. So you'd have to eat so much that there's no way your digestive system could process it. You can think about like a gorilla. Like gorillas got giant stomachs. They spend 80% of their day eating. They have giant stomachs because they're vegetarians. I think they eat insects and stuff too. But they have to process so much plant matter that it's an all-day task. And so your digestive system isn't built that way. And lastly, about fungi, digestive issues. I guess I made that point. A diet solely based on fungus could lead to digestive problems due to the unique composition of fungal fibers. So you probably don't break it down very well either. You're not built. You don't have the enzymes to break that stuff down. That much anyways. Okay, so then I thought for sure I was going to ask the Google AI, well, plants. And the Google AI actually said no. I was really shocked. I thought for sure I was going to get a yes, and I was going to, we're going to talk about that a little bit. But the Google AI says, no, humans cannot survive on plants only. While a plant-based diet can provide most of the nutrients a person needs, there are some nutrients that are difficult to obtain from plant alone. Not to mention all the calories all the matter you'd have to consume. Vitamin B12. So what are those nutrients? Vitamin B12. This nutrient is necessary for the formation of red blood cells and the normal function of the nervous system. So it's not in plants. Iron. Plant foods contain small amounts of iron, but not the heme iron, which is the much more absorbable form. When animals eat iron, they convert it to a different form. Then when we eat the animal, we absorb that form. We can absorb that form better. Omega-3 fatty acids. Is that true? I thought there were omega-3s. No, it's omega-6s. So there aren't omega-3 fatty acids in plants. The body can produce small amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, but the process isn't very efficient. Creatine and vitamin D. And I'll go over another quick list at the end here because it actually gave me two lists, and one had I forget, 6 or 7, but another had 9 or 10. So I'll go over that at the end. But just to give an idea, it said no on the plants. I thought I would get a yes, but I got to know. It says creatine. There's no creatine in plants. Creatine's in your muscle. Creatine and vitamin D, these nutrients are also missing from a plant-based diet. Just going on here. A plant-based diet can be healthy and may help. I was told to look at the camera more. A plant-based diet can be healthy and may help prevent and treat chronic diseases. However, it's important to plan meals carefully and take supplements to ensure you're getting all the nutrients you need. Again, no judgments. You want to be plant-based, but know that you're going to need to supplement if you're going to optimize your nutrition, okay? I go into a little bit of why. It's where we sit in the evolutionary process. So basically, we've evolved out of that for over millions of years. We've all left out eating animals there. If you want optimal health and function, you'll need to consume blah, 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 blah. The rest of okay. That's the gist of it. Now we're going to go into breaking down how these nutrients make their way, but that was the meat. That's what most people want to know, right? So I got that covered. If you're good, you can check on out. If you want to go into the deep waters with us, stick around because we're going to make some stuff. I hope this works too. I found images that I'm going to send to Nathan Yetter, and I hope he can stack them up right in the black box over here. I'm just going to call it the black box from now on. No. I need more buttons. I'm going to stop saying I need more buttons. All right, guys. So we're going to get into this a little bit deeper. We're going to break down this whole chain. How in the world does magnesium make its way all the way from what's called the bedrock, the rock of the earth, all the way up to you? And we're going to go a little bit farther back than that. We're going to talk about the earth itself and what it's comprised of, and you should get an image up here. If you don't, use your imagination. Earth is primarily made up of rocky crust I'm not putting the glasses on. Earth is primarily made up of a rocky crust composed of elements like oxygen, silicon, aluminum, iron, calcium, sodium, and potassium, with a mantle underneath consisting mostly of silicate rocks containing iron and magnesium, and a core at the center primarily composed of iron and nickel. So you can see this thing over here, and everybody's pretty much seen that picture of the Earth with that hot, molten center in there. Apparently it's not molten, it's hard. We're not going to get all that. And then it has these 4 different layers or so before it cools down and gets to the crust, okay? So layers. Earth is divided into 3 main layers. There's 3, not 4. The crust, the outer layer, the mantle, the middle layer, and the core, the inner layers. Obviously, we exist on the crust. Interesting thing about the crust. So if you want to think about how much of the Earth is the crust proportional to its size, it's about the thickness of an eggshell. So if you think about an egg, that's how big the crust is. The rest is the other 2 layers, which is crazy to think about because we're just riding around on this molten giant thing, really. That's why the plates are shifting around, plate tectonics, all that cool stuff. Mantle, so that's the crust. The crust is the thin outer layer we live on, made up of various rocks like granite and basalt. I don't know what basalt is. Mantle, this thick layer below the crust is composed of hot, dense, semi-solid rock with high levels of iron and magnesium. That's where you get volcanoes. Core, and at the Earth's core is primarily made of iron and nickel, with the inner core being solid and the outer core being liquid. So it sounds like there's 2 parts of that core, and there's a hard part in the middle. I wonder what that's made out of. I wonder why. I always thought with whatever. All right. So that's the Earth. Okay. Now we're going to break the chain down a little more. All right. Because we still don't know how this stuff is getting into us. So we're going to talk about the Earth. The Earth. The Earth crust. The Earth's crust. That's tough to say. The Earth's crust. Anyways, that's what we're going to talk about now. In the Earth's, the Earth's crust breaks down into 2 major categories, okay? The soil and then the bedrock. So you got the crust, and that crust has got the hard bedrock, and then everything above that is some form of soil, all right? And we're going to talk about soil in a second here. Like I said, we're going deep, like metaphorically and physically. We're going deep into the Earth, man. Let's go. That's definitely worth where is it? Pow, pow, pow. Breaking down the chain, Earth's crust. Soil is the broken and weakened material that sits on top of bedrock, while bedrock is the solid rock that lies beneath. Soil, made of minerals, organic matter, water, and air. Soil is a matrix that supports plant growth, microbial communities, and chemical decomposition. Soil is made up of many layers called horizons, each with its own characteristics. I don't know why they called it horizon, but they did. We'll get into that in a second. So that's the soil. The bedrock, the solid rock that forms the foundation of soil horizons. Bedrock can be made of many types of rock, including granite, limestone, and sandstone. The 2 main types of bedrock on Earth are granite, which is found under continents, and basalt, which is found beneath the oceans. So you got this kind of bifurcation here. The granite is mostly where there's land, and basalt is mostly where there's ocean. Remember, that's the bedrock, not the soil. That's what's at the hard part at the bottom. And basically what's happening is this hard part at the bottom is kind of breaking down into soil, and then the fungi. All right, we're going to get into that in a second. We're getting in a second. Last thing on bedrock, because I thought this was interesting. When you're looking out there and you're seeing like mountains popping up and these other things, this has all kind of got a thing going on. Bedrock is the starting material for all other soil horizons and is a primary factor in determining the type of soil in an area. Bedrock can be exposed at the surface, such as steep landscapes or buried beneath soil and other material. When bedrock is exposed at the surface, it's called an outcrop. So a mountain is an outcrop. So if you see like just hard rock sitting there popping out, there's no soil there. There's no decomposed thing that you can grow plants on. It's just rock, and that's not going to work. And that's the problem you see with the old method of agriculture of just like putting plants on and then cropping them and then putting more plants on then and cropping them and putting more plants on and cropping. You're pulling all the soil, you're using all the soil because you're not letting any vegetation get back in there. You're not letting the fungi and other stuff and talk about get back in there. So you can, it's all fixable though. Like people just freak out. Oh my God. I think I was listening to a podcast and the guy was like, we've only got 60 more crop cycles and we're done. Everybody just freaks out, Do you know, I should cover why people freak out. Well, super quick. People freak out because we are physically built to be 3 times as sensitive to threat than we are to promise. I probably said this at another point, but what does that mean? That means if you're going to walk past a tree, well, look at it like this. If you're walking towards a tree and there's an apple behind it, you pick up an apple. Oh, that's a pretty good deal, right? Got an apple? Awesome. Nice day. But if you you're walking to a tree and a tiger eats you, well, that's really, really bad. That's a bad day. So you're physiologically built to be 3 times as sensitive to negative outcomes than you are to positive outcomes. And that is why negative stuff on your phone gets way more attention to you and your brain starts spinning up, okay? That doesn't mean it's real. Don't confuse your hypothesis for facts. Okay, that's my soapbox. We're going to break down the soil now. So I talked about these elevations. What was I saying? I think I covered. All right, so now we're still breaking down the chain here. We're getting into soil. Soil has several layers. I'll go through this really quick because I don't think it's super relevant. The interesting stuff is coming up next. If I remember correctly, yes, it is. Okay, breaking down the chain, soil. Soil has several layers, including organic. So you get the organic on the top. Actually, let's go bottom up. No, let's go top down. Organic, top layer of soil made of leaf litter and humus. Humus. I don't know there was hummus just laying around, man. Get some chips. Hummus is a... I'm funny. I swear I'm funny. Humus is a dark colored organic material that provides nutrients to plants. Under the organic, you got the topsoil. The top 2 to 8 inches of soil, which contain the highest concentration of organic matter and microorganisms. Plants grow in this layer, and decomposers recycle dead plants and animals. Subsoil. The layer below the topsoil, which contains less organic matter and humus than topsoil. Get your chips. It's harder and more compact than topsoil and contains more water. And the last 2, I don't know how to say this. Eluviation, 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 a layer of sand and silt. And then lastly, before you get to the bedrock, regolith, Regolith, a layer of broken bedrock. So basically you got the bedrock, then you got the regolith, which is that bedrock is being broken. Then you got the eluviation, a layer of sand and silt. Then you got the subsoil, then you got the topsoil, and then you get the organic stuff on top. So that is soil. So we broke down the earth. We broke down the earth's crust. We broke down the soil on top of the earth's crust. I think I got it. Now we're going to break down the chain even further, and we're going to talk about fungi. Let me get another drink of water here. You know there's jokes coming with fungi. No, rim shot. I'm a fungi. It's so obvious. Obvious that I was going to say it. I'm not always fun. Rocks and earth are converted into minerals, plants, or mycelium. All right, let me start that again because I paused where I shouldn't have. Rocks and earth are converted into minerals, plants, or mycelium through a process called biological weathering, where living organisms, primarily fungi, mycelium, secrete acids and enzymes that break down the rock, releasing the minerals which can then be utilized by plants and further processed by other organisms essentially turning the rock into soil that can support plant life. This process is crucial for the development of ecosystems and land. So there it is. There it is. Rocks and earth are converted into minerals by fungi. Fungi's role, mycelium. So again, you got the fungi. The fungi is a thing. The mycelium are essentially the roots. So if you don't know, mycelium is like the white strands. It looks like hairs. There's millions or trillions of miles of these things all over the planet. So you got the fungus, you got the mycelium is the roots, and then the fruiting body, the mushroom, is basically the flower that comes up out that thing. Comes up out it. You got it. All right, so fungal role. Mycelium, the network of fungal threads, plays a primary role in breaking down rocks by releasing organic acids that dissolve minerals with the rock structure. There it is. So the fungi is releasing these enzymes or these acids, and these enzymes and acids break down the rock and release the minerals. And there it is. There's the whole... That's how you're getting them. Now, what that ends up happening is once they get broken down, now not only does the mycelium have access to them, but also plants have access to them, and the mycelium are giving the plants new minerals, and the plants are giving the fungi carbohydrate. It's amazing. And so that is where this is breaking down. And then you get something dies, plant matter dies, and it gets in there and gets involved. And then you get the worms, and you got these other things going on, man. And it's really something, the thing how we all got here. All right, mineral extraction. As the rock weathers, the released minerals become available to plants to absorb and utilize for growth. Soil creation. Over time, the process of rock breakdown by fungi contributes significantly to the formation of soil, which is essential for plant life. Without fungi, no plants. Without fungi, no fun. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Am I recording? I would be so upset if I was not recording right now. I do not want to start this again. All right. We're good to go. Got to get that check. You know what I mean? You're right, Nathan. You're right, Nathan. I do got to look at the camera more often. All right. We are still breaking down the chain, man. There's still more to know. Said we were going deep. Said it. Breaking down the chain. Plants. Mycelium, the network of... This might be redundant here. I'm going to read it anyways. Mycelium, the network of fungal threads, has this is where we start seeing how things start intertwining. Has a symbiotic relationship with plants, primarily forming a connection with plant roots called, this was a tough word, mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza, yes. Mycorrhiza. Where the fungus provides the plant with water and nutrients from deeper soil layers, while the plant provides the fungus with sugars provided through photosynthesis. Essentially, they work together to access resources that neither could reach alone. So the fungus is going deep, boy, breaking down that rock, giving those nutrients, those minerals, and to the plant. The plant is up above, pulling in the sunshine, making carbohydrate, feed into mycelium. It's bliss. It's just bliss. It's planet bliss. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Mycorrhizal network. The primary way mycelium interacts with plants is through a network of fungi threads that intertwine with plant roots, creating a mycorrhizal connection. Hope I'm saying that right. Nutrient exchange. Mycelium helps plants access nutrients like phosphorus, nitrogen, and minerals that are difficult for roots to reach alone. Benefits for fungi. In exchange for providing nutrients, the fungus receives carbohydrates, sugars produced by the plant through photosynthesis. Communication potential. So this is a little bit of a hypothesis theory going on here. Some research suggests that the mycorrhizal network could act as a communication pathway between plants, allowing them to share information about environmental conditions or stress signals. One thing they've shown for sure about forests, which is fascinating, is if you think about the edge of a forest. Now imagine some insect comes and starts eating the leaves on the edge of that forest. Well, those trees on the edge start releasing plant molecules into the air that signal to the other trees to build up their chemical immune systems and start to fight off the insects. That's been shown. The one thing you got to know about life and evolution is if there is an efficient, better way to do it, it's got it figured out. Just end of story. If it makes sense, it probably works. It's probably happening. Nutrient exchange, markers of nutrient exchange, benefits of fungi. All right. Okay. Last here on breaking down the chain, plants. Food chain transfer. I covered this a bunch. Animals then consume plants, acquiring the vitamins synthesized using the minerals from fungi and soil. Oh, bam. Now you're starting to see, right? You're starting to see how this is happening. And when you understand this, you can then see where you fit in there and start to understand why you need to eat from a specific kind of plane. I didn't know what to call that because there's no name for it. Where you need to eat in the nutritional hierarchy to get the most bioavailable foods. Man, all right, breaking down the chain. Last one of breaking down the chain, then I got 2 more slides here, 2 more sheets, and then we're good to go. This has been a ton of fun. I really enjoyed this. I just didn't care how long it took. And I'm like, I was going to do what I want to do. I'm going to enjoy it. I find my people. That's what I'll do. Breaking down the chain, animals. Okay. So there's herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores. We all pretty much know that when it comes to animals, all right? Insects, even insects have this hierarchy, by the way. Some insects only eat plants. Some insects eat plants and other insects, and some insects only eat other insects. They said there was insects that eat animals. There was a scorpion that, obviously scorpions eat like rats and stuff, man. Crazy. But anyways, I don't want to focus on that, right? Because there's something that's very specific that, especially if in the United States, you're eating a lot of, and that is ruminants. If you go to other countries, they're eating sheep and goats. But let's talk about what a ruminant is, because they are doing the grunt work of this process of upcycling these nutrients into bioavailable foods for us, okay? So we got animals, they're doing it. You got the herbivore, the omnivore, and the carnivore, but the ruminants are the big dogs, okay? So let's talk about them for a little bit. The term ruminants refers to a large group of herbivores with a 4-chambered stomach. Most ruminants have hooves with 2 digits, and they are also the only animals that can digest their food without thoroughly chewing it. Commonly known ruminant animals include cows, sheep, goats, moose, camels, which I didn't know, deer, giraffes, also didn't know, and buffalo. Now, that's not an exhaustive list. Those are just some common ones. Ruminants, like cattle, are able to upcycle protein, which is the process of converting low-quality protein sources into high-quality protein. I'm going to tie this all together at the end on the final thing. But so ruminants have this capacity to take protein like that's in grass that isn't available to us because we can't digest that. And what they do is through their digestive system, I'll talk about it a little bit here, they convert that into usable protein. That's what they're doing. They're converting it into protein for themselves and building their tissues with it. And then we consume that tissue, and it provides a highly bioavailable tissue for our protein source for us. Huh. Phenomenal. Okay, what do we got here? A couple points. Rumen microbes. The key players in this process are did I read that? Let me back up real again. Let me reiterate, and then we'll jump into this. Ruminants, like cattle, are able to upcycle protein, which is the process of converting low-quality protein sources into high-quality protein. And 3 points here. Rumen microbes. The key players in this process are the bacteria, protozoa, and fungi that live in the rumen, a large stomach chamber in ruminant animals. Cellulose digestion. Here's where the proteins come from. These microbes can break down cellulose, a complex carbohydrate found in plant cell walls, which most animals cannot digest on their own. And then lastly, this is where the protein comes from. Microbial protein. This was fascinating, by the way. As the microbes multiply and die, they are digested by the animal, providing a significant portion of the ruminant's protein needs, along with the available amino acids left over from the fermentation process. So basically, these plant compounds that we can't break down are going into this digestive system. These microbes are breaking down these plants, fermenting them basically, and those microbes are regenerating themselves, right? The microbes continue to regenerate, and then when they die, that's a protein. That is, the microbes turn the amino acids into themselves, and then the microbes die, and the ruminant is getting the protein from the dead microbes and the amino acids that are left over, right? I just thought it would be the amino acids, but it's actually the dead microbes are supplying the majority of the protein for the cow, which is crazy. That's how they can have so much mass, is because they're not really doing the work. They're just putting it in there, and these microbes are living and dying, and the dead microbes are supplying the protein to the cow. Some of it, majority of it. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. If you don't think that's crazy, well, you probably do because you made it this far. That's a fact. Because if you don't find that interesting, you would have not made it that far into this podcast. That's what I realized, man. People are hanging with me. You got to get excited about what you're doing. All right. So that was breaking it down. We went deep on that. Now we're got two final slides here. Animal or plant, what you need to know. Again, I don't care how you choose to eat and feed yourself. You can do that any way you want, okay? But you need to know this stuff right here. This is super important so you can do it optimally, okay? Higher bioavailability in animal sources. Okay, this was the Google. All that stuff was the Google. This is the Google. I asked it, hey, what's better, plant or animal for food sources? And it spit this out. Higher bioavailability in animal sources. Minerals in animal products like meat, fish, and dairy are often more readily absorbed by the body than those found in plant foods. That doesn't mean you can't absorb them from plant foods, okay? You're just more easily absorbed, more efficiently absorbed. You can eat less, get more if you're getting it from a plant source. Why? Because that's where you fall in the nutritional hierarchy, all right? That's why, in the food cycle. I was going to make another point about that, but I don't remember what it was. Again, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. This is just the way it is. Now you got to decide what to do. Phthalates and oxalates in plants. Plant-based foods contain compounds like phthalates and oxalates, which can bind to minerals like iron, zinc, and calcium, reducing their absorption by the body. Oh, that was the point I was going to make. Like I said earlier about iron, there's different forms, right? And so when the animal eats the iron, it converts it into a form that it can utilize. We can't convert that iron. And so when it converts it for itself, it gets into its muscle tissue. Now it's in that heme iron form, and we can then eat that form and absorb that. Well, we don't absorb the other form of iron previous to that very well. To me, that's upcycling. It's not really called that. It's upcycling, though. Okay, last point from the Google AI. I just made the point. All right, I'll just read it anyways. Heme iron in meat, iron from animal sources, particularly red meat, is present as heme iron, which is more easily absorbed than non-heme iron found in plants. Okay, I made that point. Nutrients, and then this was the list of nutrients not found in plants, and I Google searched this on 2 different occasions. It gave me 2 different lists. So I'll just tell you them all, and then you do what you want with that. Vitamin B12, creatine, carnosine, vitamin D3, cholecalciferol, and I can't say this one, docosahexaenoic acid. Arachidonic acid comes from the plants, but that's DHA, heme iron, and taurine. And then the other list had more, which is vitamin A, carnitine, and EPA. So EPA and DHA only found in animals. Vitamin A, vitamin B12, carotene, I already covered that stuff. Okay, all right. So yeah, why? Because where we sit in the thing. Okay, this has been a ton of fun. I don't know, did I actually go longer? It doesn't feel long to me. Let's see, we got, don't screw it up. Oh yeah, we went longer. Here we go. Final thoughts, guys. Let's wrap this up. This occurred to me while I was doing this whole podcast, putting this thing together. Okay, so you got fungi. They're basically breaking down the minerals. They're breaking down the rock and making minerals available. Plants are kind of using those minerals and pulling them into their system there. But plants add in vitamins. The vitamins are organic compounds that are made from plants. And then herbivores eat the plant, which has the minerals from the fungi. It has the vitamins from the plant, and then it converts the non-bioavailable proteins into bioavailable proteins. So it's basically adding food to it for us, and then we get to eat it. So we get all 3 of those things through that process. Now, you still have to eat plants to get vitamins. There's not a ton of vitamins in animals, but I thought that was fascinating. Okay, we are omnivores. That is what we are. Ideally, eat where you land in the evolutionary process. I think that's in the perfect world. If you want to simplify your life, eat where you land in the evolutionary process. Okay, you're up the chain there. If you are vegan, all good. Be sure you are supplementing. Do not shortchange yourself on those supplements. Look into that and make sure you're getting enough of what you need. Also, calories and protein, all that stuff. What's my take, though? I don't give a rip. I eat the way I eat. But there's this argument about there between the carnivore and the vegan, and they both feel they're right. I think it's obviously got an emotional bias to it. People are going to back up what they did, right? If I decide I'm going to do something, then I'm going to put some emotion behind that. And then if somebody tells me I'm wrong, well, that makes me emotional, right? So that's just the way it is. So I got my biases behind things. But regardless, think of it like this. I think you need both. You're an omnivore, right? What I think is happening is that animals products are produced or have this is a fact. Animal products have higher densities of calories, higher densities of nutrients. But we still need plants because plants are feeding our guts. Think about the points that have been consistent throughout this whole thing. There's been plants that are breaking down. There's this soil, right? And there's these plants, there's these fungi, and there's bacteria in there. Okay, and that's basically digesting things. And then it goes to a ruminant or a cow, and a cow basically has that similar thing going on. It's got bacteria, it's got fungi inside of it, and then that system is then breaking down stuff even further. And what I think our intestines need is I think they need plant matter to be able to sustain the proper ecosystem. Like, it's basically pulled the world, it's pulled soil over billions of years into its system. And I think that's what's going on, man. I think that's what's going on. And so that's a pretty wild thought. So anyways, that's my take on the whole thing. You need both. Do what you want, though. It's your body. You get to feed it how you'd like. Next episode, or like I said, we're going to take one more look at metabolism. Okay, we're going to talk about anabolic and catabolic in the next episode. And then this season's over. I am going to go on to talk about different ways to, I don't know. What am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about coaching. I'm going to talk about more specifics about what to do. I'm going to talk about how to build fitness into your day. I'm going to talk about how to build sleeping patterns into your day. We're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of stuff, and not how the body works anymore, but what to do. And I think people are pretty excited about that. I'm also going to bring some people on. I'm going to do some interviews. I got a couple people I've talked with, and I think it'd be interesting to bring them on and do some of that, and it'll be fun. Okay. Help us grow. Like and subscribe. YouTube is the spot, but wherever you want is good with me. And submit your questions to Dennis@DennisFenners.com. All right, that's a wrap. About got it done. I'm looking forward to the end of the season and getting into some other stuff. Okay, guys, have a great week, and we will talk to you soon. By the time you get this, it'll be New Year's, actually. Have a happy New Year, because I missed you on Christmas. All right, guys, we'll talk soon. Bye.